Hi, welcome to video number 24, Applying an Image Mask in ENVI. In this video, I'm going to talk about what an image mask is and why it's useful. I'll show you how to convert a shapefile into an image mask in ENVI, and then I'll show you how to apply an image mask using band math in ENVI. So a mask, an image mask, is a way to mask out pixels from your image. And these might be pixels that you don't want to include in your analysis or that you don't want to visualize. And maybe you want to set them to some no data value or set them to some background value. So in this example, we're going to consider a body of water in this bay. And there's oil spilled in the bay. And the oil spectrally overlaps with a lot of the reflectance values from the land. So in order to properly analyze the oil and visualize it, it would be great to mask out all the land pixels. Basically like clipping them out, but we're really just putting a mask over them. So to do that, we're going to create a new raster called a masking raster, or just a mask. And this raster will have pixel values only of 1 and 0. Everywhere the pixel values are equal to 1 in white, those are what we call active pixels. We're going to end up keeping those. Everywhere the mask pixels are set to 0, that's the part of the image that's going to be masked out. Okay? And a mask doesn't have to have values of 1 and 0. It can have any value that you want. But you'll see why 1 and 0 is important. It's important because the next step is actually to multiply the mask raster by the image, using either band math in ENVI or using raster calculator in ArcGIS. So when we multiply the pixel values in the original image by the pixel values in the mask, we get this result. Places where the mask had a value of 1 were left with the original raster values from the original image. Places where the mask raster had values of 0, the new raster also has values of 0, because 0 times anything is still 0. So in effect, we've now set all of the land areas equal to 0, and we've left the values at their original level for the water. So there's a few reasons this might be useful. One reason is that now we've reduced the range of pixel values in the image, so you might be able to get a better contrast stretch on the image. Notice this is already happening. We can see the oil slicks better because of the better contrast stretch. You may remove meaningless pixels. So if we were going to go on to compute the concentration of oil in the water, that calculation would be meaningless for land. So it's nice to have that masked out. And in general, we just get a crisper display. The viewer's eyes and interpretations are only focused on the water, and they're not distracted by the land. So now that you know what a mask is and why it's useful, let's go into ENVI and see if we can make one. So I've got a project all set up here. What I've got is my multi-band Landsat image that we clipped in a previous video. This is the Middlebury area. And then I've got overlain on it my map of the town boundary of Middlebury. That's a polygon shapefile. And what I'm going to do is ultimately turn this polygon shapefile into my image mask. Let's imagine that we want to mask out values of a single raster. In this case, for example, I've created a band ratio image in which I ratioed band 4 over band 3. And my goal of doing this was to bring out vegetation and grass in light colors, and a lot of the residential and commercial areas are in dark areas. So if my ultimate goal is to either calculate statistics on this just for Middlebury, or perhaps present an image to the Planning Commission for Middlebury, a mask is a great way to just focus this on the town of Middlebury. Let's go ahead and make the mask. That's going to be under Raster Management, Build Mask. And the first thing it's going to do is ask me what the dimensions are of my new raster. Samples are columns, lines are rows. So if I want my new raster to be the same shape as my initial raster, I'm going to go get that information out of the metadata for my Landsat file. So I'll jot down that it has 557 samples and 320 lines. So that's here and here. I'll hit OK. Now going back to my mask, I'll input that 557, 320. Now I need to choose what file I want to use to make my mask. I'm going to import that from my shapefile, Polygon, Options, Import EVF, that stands for ENVI vector file. That includes any kind of shapefile. So it's going to show me the town boundary polygon. I'm going to pick that, hit OK. Now it wants to know what raster data I'd like to associate with that. I'm going to choose my ratio image and hit OK. Notice this keeps disappearing behind my main screen. I keep having to go find it again, so watch out for that. Alright, so now I've got everything all set. I'm going to assign a file name, and I will call it midmask, and it's going to be .tiff because it is going to be a raster file. Hit apply, and it's making the mask. Okay, you can see it's come up with the masked raster. I'm going to close this interface. Areas where the town of Middlebury boundary intersected the raster, anything inside that now has a value of 1. Anything outside that now has a value of 0. So just to illustrate that, I'm going to turn the mask on and off, and you can see we've got that mask. So now let's do the last step of applying the mask using band math. Now notice we can also do this using apply mask. That's very easy, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a more generic way in band math. So we need to write an expression. Remember that any generic band always has to start with a B, and this is going to be a simple expression. It's going to be B1, which will be our mask, times B2, which will be our original image. Add that to the list, highlight it, hit OK. Now I need to tell it that B1 is going to be my mask band, and B2 is going to be my original ratio. Again, I'm going to choose an output file name, and I'll call this B4 B3 masked.tiff. And then I'll hit OK. I'll execute that expression. And here's my masked image. Note that now all other parts of the image are set to 0 except for the part of the image that was within the Middlebury town boundary, and that has its original ratio values. Well, thanks for listening. In summary, you learned what an image mask is, why it's useful, how to convert a shapefile into an image mask, and how to apply an image mask. Please join us for our next video, number 25, where I'll show you how to do unsupervised classification in ArcMap. Thanks for listening.